for this man to say, I'm never leaving you and I love you, you don't believe it. It was the best day of my life.
It was way more than...
I love their story.
That's going to be tough to top. I mean, we're going to be sharing these stories all week, and everyone has their own unique story of love, and I should never say that one love story is better than the other, but that's a pretty darn good love story.
Yeah,
how they met
right away.
And like she said, like he came off that plane. I remember they told me this story, admittedly. It's funny how this all went down. They actually were on our show last summer as part of our viewer recipe series. They were selected for this week.
I remember that
Yes.
now. I wasn't putting that together. Okay.
I was not part of the selection committee for this week's How We Met stories, but when I saw that our producer Andrew pulled them up first, I go, we know that couple. He goes, we do? And I said, they were on last year as part of our viewer recipe series. Like, man, they got a great love story, which they had told me about a little bit when I met them at their home last summer. And what I remember then was her saying how basically she was so nervous. She did not feel good about herself at the time. As she mentioned, she was significantly heavier at the time, weighing over 300 pounds, and she just thought, man, when this guy sees me in person, this is all going to go away. That's what she told herself. And she couldn't have been more wrong.
Yeah.
And he says, fell in love with her the minute I saw her. Already started to fall in love, obviously, through the chat room experience in the early days of the internet. But he said, you know, when I saw her, his heart melted. It really is a great story. And I got a little choked up when we showed that story the first time at 5, whatever it was this morning, 5:45. When she starts to choke up, it makes you choke up.
Yeah,
it's a great
Absolutely.
story.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
The fake surfing picture got him a wonderful, beautiful woman.
Right. It's funny because she was so self-conscious and she was so worried about her own appearance. Yet on the other side of the world, here's this guy trying to pose as a surfer in hopes of convincing her that he was a great catch. You know, it's funny because when we put this post out here 6 weeks ago about, hey, we want your love stories, please share them with us, we're crossing our fingers like, geez, I hope we get 5 good ones. Turns out we had
So many.
so many. I don't even know the number now, but immediately that day we were in the dozens of great ones. And you're right, by the time we aired this segment, hundreds. So we're going to continue to share many love stories over the course of this week, but theirs was a terrific kickoff.
Yeah, and if you're just joining us, we just kind of went live on some of our platforms. So if you missed the story that we just aired, it is on our website. But like Drew was saying, yeah, we've been asking you guys for the past 2 weeks great stories of how you met, and we've gotten so many. We did a little post on Facebook, if we can pull that up, this morning, just asking, how did you meet your significant other? And we've gotten so many wonderful stories. The one that I was kind of showing Brenda out on the news desk was from Serena Mary Catherine. She says, she has a picture right there with her and her husband. We were adopted from the same orphanage in India. Never knew each other while in the orphanage, but we met on Facebook in a group for adoptees. 12 years and 2 sons later, still one of the greatest blessings life has given me.
How incredible.
Do you think they were in, I guess she wasn't clear about whether they were at the orphanage at the same time. They must have been overlapping years at some point, I would assume, but I guess we don't know for sure.
Yeah, we don't know.
Still crazy. That is
Isn't that
wild.
amazing? Other people, 2 people here meeting at house parties. Love that. Lori Martin says they worked together and they'd been friends for 6 years when Tony finally asked her out. Good going, Tony. Jamie Lynn met her husband in kindergarten in 1983.
Oh, my goodness.
Always been friends.
Wow.
Each married other people and had children. Now they're together, engaged. And deeply in love. Colleen, through a church singles Sunday school. Let's see.
We have on our Facebook
Cousin's
stream
wedding.
here, one of our
Love it.
regulars, Stanford Walker, says that we met at Catholic Church in Phoenix.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
And I would assume he means he and his significant other, not he and Jesus, right? He's talking about, he just says we. Good morning, Stanford. Good morning, buddy. It is fascinating, and you know, sometimes when you hear these really, like, I don't know, again, you can't compare love stories, but the Aldovas that we showed a moment ago, you think, like, that is such a rich love story.
Yeah.
And you think that sometimes to make that happen, I almost feel like you have to sacrifice, right? Like, you have to put that ahead of other things. It's hard for many people to put career, say, in front of their marriage, or even their kids. You know, sometimes your kids can take away from your marriage in some ways if you put them so high above your own love story. When I'm hearing some of these people that are just expressing their love so greatly, I get the sense that they never did that. They put that first and foremost and didn't let a career or their kids or other distractions that life presents get in the way of that.
No, I totally agree. I think that that is one of the keys to, like, just maintaining long-term relationships is you have to take care of each other.
Right.
And never forget that. Listen to this. This is from Lisa Accardi. She says, he rode by on his bike when he was 11 and I was 12, and they've been married for 25 years.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that amazing?
Wow.
David Barr watching us live on Facebook at this very moment.
Hi, David.
Good morning, David Barr. He says, my wife and I met working with special needs adults at Mount Hood Kiwanis Camp. Now the two of them are both special ed teachers.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Very cool. Tracy Bishop Yerman watching us online says she and her significant other met online.
As I did with my significant
I
other,
didn't know
yes,
you
with
were
my
bringing it
wife.
up, so
Yes.
I just really.
That's right. Yeah.
Isn't that funny? So I met Jeff almost 6 years ago, and we met at a 4th of July barbecue. Not just any 4th of July barbecue. It was at Poison Water's house.
Drag
the
queen.
drag queen and my friend, Kevin Cook. So yeah, and I was actually kind of going through a divorce at the time, and all my guys over there, they were like, you don't even have a chance talking to Brenda Braxton. And so they did this big pitter patter, and so somehow somebody brought him over and we took a picture together, and that was outside, and later on we ended up like in the kitchen chatting, and it was like, I felt like when I met him it was instantaneous. Like the chemistry
Really?
was great, and it was nuts, and we've been together really ever since.
It's not. I mean, you just have to. It has to be right at the right time. You
Right,
know,
exactly.
for something to work.
I could never meet anybody at barbecue because I'd just be so focused on the food. But Mr. Carney, sir?
Sometimes, though, it's not always about, like I don't know what you were thinking, because you mentioned it was also coming at a time that was difficult in your life. You're going through a divorce, right? It's pretty tough. So were you thinking, like, man, I can't wait to find a true love, a connection, or were you even thinking about that?
Probably not at that time,
No,
right?
no, not at all. That was the last thing on my mind.
Because Rodney, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, because you told me about your story before, and I feel like my takeaway once when you told me your story was that you actually had made up your mind at some point in your life, like, I'm done being single, I'm going to go find a woman. Like, that was kind of like the goal. And not to say that that's not maybe a lot of people's goals, and stuff, but you were really like, man, I've been single a long time and wanted to be, enjoyed it, had a great single
Well,
life.
and I just lost my dogs a year earlier, 15, 16 years, which really does, I'm sure people can relate to this, makes you feel even more alone when all of a sudden it is just you in the
They're
house.
like family.
Now, with
Yeah.
that said, the timing was good for me, but with that said, I hit the jackpot no matter what my moment in life was when I met my wife, Grayson.
How long had you been doing? Had gotten on like a
Match.com.
dating
We were both
site?
on.
Yeah.
I mean, I think both of us have been on it for like a month, maybe. Not
Rip that fast,
Not very
huh?
long.
Only a month.
Yeah.
Wow.
I've heard that story a few
That's so
times.
amazing, though. Like, isn't that incredible?
Yeah, I mean, I come at that from, and Grayson was the same. It's just, you get older, and where do you meet people? I mean, you
Yeah.
basically work and you take care of your house, and you really don't, or at least in my life, I mean, I like my golf buddies, but the chemistry just wasn't there, and so there you go.
That is funny. Ginny Carlson, one of our dedicated Sunrise Extra viewers, she's sharing her how we met story. Thank you, Ginny. She says she and her significant other met volunteering, now together for 15 years. Separated 5 years ago, though, still love each other very much. He was with me through cancer, and now I support him through health challenges. Forever love, even if not forever husband and wife. How about that?
I love that.
Yeah, I do too.
You got to have a good relationship, really. It's just not worth it otherwise.
Sometimes I'm reading these comments cold, like I just did with Ginny's, and it's like you're reading a book. Like you don't know how it's going to turn out. Like you get to the bottom of the page.
Now,
Thank
did I
you, Ginny.
miss Drew? Did you meet at work?
We did. We met
met at
through
work.
Through work. We were
Yeah.
both working at another station here in town at the time.
Yeah.
This goes back to 2004, so 16
did?
years
I didn't
ago.
know that.
Yeah, she was working at Fox,
Oh.
but in their sales department
Oh,
in marketing.
oh, yes,
And she was young. I mean, she was 24 at the time. I was I was about to turn 30 when I first saw her, and it was funny because I shared this story, I think, with the two of you before about the phone call and the bowling night and all this stuff. But someone had just asked Mia while I was standing there not too long ago about that, and she added a detail that I had forgotten.
Oh.
So, long story short, she had a boss. They were having a function for the sales department that night to go play bowling. I had mentioned to my buddy that worked up there in the sales department that I really thought that new assistant they had up there was, pretty smoking. And, and he calls me on like a Wednesday afternoon and says, hey, do you want to go bowling with us tonight? I'm like, I can't go bowling. I work at the crack of dawn. I need to be in bed at 7 o'clock. Not bowling with you yahoos.
Yeah.
And he says, Mia's going to be there. I was like, I will be there at 6:45.
It's amazing what love will do.
But she told me that, it was because he said, Tim, his boss, Tim can't make it, so you need to take his spot. Apparently, Mike didn't either know or didn't tell me that Tim had already asked Mia to replace him. So when Mia shows up and I show up, we're there to replace the same person.
Oh.
I forgot about that detail. So we're on the same team, playing in the same foursome, but having to take turns bowling because we were both there taking up one spot. But I kind of knew immediately when I walked in there that night, I knew what I wanted to do. Talk to her all night. Get to know her better.
I know.
But I'm like, you're worried, this person,
Comments, where's that going?
is she interested in me? But immediately I kind of know, I was like, wow, she is into me.
Yeah?
She is enjoying this conversation. And I'm not even doing a good job conversating, but she is into this. That was very cool.
Maybe she could
that's
tell
a good
that you
kind
were
of first date, because you got something
fumbling
that's not
over himself a little
awkward
bit. Is that like a sign for I'm guessing the guys are usually the ones that fumble a little bit over the ladies when they're trying to do the
I don't
do
know.
the
I think
pickup
it
line.
can go both ways. You get nervous.
But have you ever had that experience where somebody that wound up becoming a dating interest at some point? Did they fumble a line and then
Yes.
and then you still went out with them anyway and discovered they were a pretty
How did
cool
you guys
person?
meet?
A nice distraction there.
Well, I don't know if I'd ever heard this story. That's why I was wondering.
We actually met right down the street at
Goose
Goose Hollow. Yeah, yes, actually. When did we meet? 6 years ago. Literally, actually, about 6 years ago today.
Oh, wow.
Within the week. It was just after Valentine's Day. It was my run club does this social thing where they run Thursday nights and then they meet at the Goose for a pint or whatever. If you don't drink, then water or whatever. And I just happened to be finishing up my evening shift at the time at 7. That's when I did the split shifts. So I just kind of moseyed on down, wanted to say hi to some people, and Catherine happened to be in the group, and I was like...
So she was a runner as well?
She was a runner. She was a member of my running club, and I'm like, who's this person?
Yeah.
And so I just struck up a conversation, and I was immediately it was literally for me, it was in the eyes, boom, done, okay. Okay, it wasn't like that for her. I found out after the fact.
What could it be?
Well, she was having a tough day. She was miserable. She'd just gotten done running up to Council Crescent back in the rain on a Thursday night in February. So you can imagine how fun that is.
Yeah.
Especially for somebody who had just recently taken up running, trying to learn that's fun. Yeah.
Does she still run?
Yes.
Okay.
Once you can. We're busy chasing around 2 kids now. But so fast forward 2 weeks, and there was another social where I got a chance to actually talk with her for a good hour and a half at another bar.
Yeah.
Because that's what runners do, right? You hang out at bars afterwards, and so that was great. So we struck up this great conversation, and I was instantly I got to ask this woman out on a date.
Yeah.
I Facebooked her, sent her. We became Facebook friends. I sent her a message. I said, "Hey, that was great. Love to go out on a date sometime." I thought everything was going great. No reply.
Oh.
For months.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Months.
Maybe
Months.
she doesn't check her
Ghost
Facebook.
town.
So that's February.
But maybe she-
August rolls around. And one of our mutual running friends asked me, Chris, you've been single a while now. What's up? And I said, as a matter of fact, Amy, there is a woman on your Cascade Lakes relay team that I thought I had something going with. We had a conversation. I asked her out on a date and never got a reply. And she said, that doesn't sound like Catherine. Let me go ask around about this. And literally the next day there was an email, we had a date, and boom, done.
Wow.
So she just didn't see the message.
She never got the message.
Oh,
And to
that's
this day, I
interesting.
still have the message in my outgoing Facebook. Hey, Facebook fail,
never
by the way.
actually
Oh, it never went?
I still have it as an outgoing
gotta get
message.
those
It's been
digits.
sent. It's been sent. She's never received it.
Huh.
Weird.
But see, that gives lots of people hope. Because if you had just kind of curled up and was like, I'm not going to try again, you
So yeah, the rest was we went out on a date. I think our first legit date was up. We went for a hike in Forest Park, and then we went to Bridgeport afterwards and had a beer, and
Nice.
the rest was history. So,
Oh, that's cool.
I'm thinking you should hope that never gets sent because now she might change her mind.
Oh, gosh. Hey, on
Keep that in the
Twitter,
outbox.
it's become a recurring joke
That's
between
pretty funny,
us.
man. That's
Yeah,
a great story.
gotta make sure those messages are sent. AKA Go for Hockey on Twitter. Good morning. My significant other and I met while working at Home Depot during college. Apparently, she had been dropping hints for years, and I never picked up on it. And he says he agrees with you, Chris. Guys do fumble a lot. when it comes to asking girls out. That can be such a stressful.
Tiffany Hart said, my hubby and I met when I was 16. He was the big brother of my best friend in high school. He barely said 2 words to me, LOL. We reconnected later when his friend requested me on Facebook while I was going through a divorce. Let's see, we've been together 7 years and happily married for 5.
Very
So
cool.
happy I married my best friend. That's awesome.
Doreen Brock mentions 35 going on 36 when she met her husband. He was 31 at the time. Still together, I would assume, Doreen Brock. Thank you for chiming in. The only story we haven't heard from this panel, this morning anyways, is Miss Nina's.
Oh, I've told it before.
Yeah, but no, you know what, you say that. When was
all
it?
different.
People watching this morning didn't see it. It seems weird that you're the only one who didn't share it today, right?
I agree.
just
Very
figured you
strange.
already heard it. We met on, he's a firefighter. We met on a house fire while it was burning down.
This wasn't your
Then-
house. You didn't catch your
Not
house
my
on fire to meet
I was
this
the
guy.
reporter. He was the firefighter. And he's pretty shy. And so he came up, and I was wearing high heels and carrying the camera and the tripod. And so he started making fun of me for my footwear at a fire. And so I rolled my eyes playfully, and then I zoomed in on him as he walked away. And I remembered they have their names on the back of their turnout coats. And so I remembered his last name. So then I interviewed the fire chief, the boss, who was on scene about the fire, and his name was Dave. And so I go back to work the next day. The receptionist buzzes my desk and says, oh, Dave from the fire department is calling. So I figured it's the older man fire chief with a question about what we reported. So I get on the phone, stammering all over the place. I met
So it
you
does happen.
yesterday. And as soon as he started talking, I knew it wasn't the old guy. And I said, is your last name, this that I saw in your coat? And he said, yes. And I said, oh, hello. And he was like, I never do anything like this, but I was wondering if you wanted to go out for some coffee. And I said, well, I don't drink coffee, but I'll go have a drink with you. And he was like, well, okay. And so, yeah, we went out that weekend and then made another date. And he took me out on the back of his Harley, and we went to Sisters. We drove from Bend to Sisters, and had a sandwich and ice cream. And I'd never been on a motorcycle
I was gonna
before.
ask that
I was
question.
terrified. And so I had to sit here with this guy I didn't know and hold,
That's a good move on
He had
dates.
a
Oh, wow.
helmet,
Makes you want to go buy a motorcycle, doesn't it?
Yeah. And
What's up, man?
this big, strong firefighter guy with this Harley, and I was like, wow, this looks pretty
That's a good move.
exciting.
How do I get this woman to put her arms around me on her second
Yeah,
date? Throw her on the back of my
Like,
motorcycle.
Okay, hang on tight.
Hold on for dear life.
Yeah,
That's pretty funny.
Isn't that funny? Because when we were at the barbecue, it's 4th of July, everybody's drinking and having fun, and a lot of people, they come up and they were talking to me, and Jeff said to me, I knew you were agreeing to everything. You said you were going to go skydiving with these, 2 people at the thing, and he said,
You were
that's
agreeing
when
to
I knew.
everything."
That's when I knew. I'm going to ask her out, because if she's saying yes to skydiving, she's going to say yes to me. And so he asked me out, and then he canceled
That day
on me.
he did.
Canceled on you.
Yeah, we were going to go have breakfast, and then he was like, oh my God, she's probably a little bit lit, and I can't now, I
knew what
can't
she
do
said,
it.
yeah.
And so he texted me, and we ended up rescheduling. And I remember talking, we went to By and By, the vegan place over in Northeast, and it was a summer day, and it was just gorgeous, and we were sitting outside, and he got up to go to the bathroom, and I remember calling my friend, and she was like, again, the whole divorce thing with me, and she's like, don't fall for him. Don't fall. I'm like, I'm not. I got this. But he was great. We talked for 3 hours.
You've never
And
gone
that was-
skydiving, though, right?
No, I never did that.
But he canceled on the Braxton and got a second chance.
Well, he did. He's like, and I think he made up an excuse. He's like, I got called into work or whatever. Because he said I panicked. All of a sudden, I was like, I can't.
What did I
Oh my
do?
God, yes. She didn't mean it. It was a
Yeah,
pity
yeah.
date. She was saying yes to everything, and it was funny. I was like, nope.
I love that.
I do remember Mia early on when we were early dating. She has a horse. She's had a horse for 30 years. And I remember her being out there. She always brings up the fact that I guess one day I happened to say out there in the country, out there near Estacada, that I said something along the lines of, this is beautiful. I could do this. I could live this life. this is a great life. I love it out here.
Oh, and she was like, ah.
And yeah, she's like, oh, wow, that sounds awesome. I didn't think he was into that kind of thing. We get married, and she brought up the idea of like moving out to Estacada. I was like, no way. But you said, I said, well, it's so far from downtown. That's where I work. That's where you work. That doesn't make any sense. Anyways, we're not living in Estacada. And I think
Oh, the hours you work, though, that would be a pretty easy commute.
I think I
Shut up,
still like
Chris.
it out there, like on a weekend. It's not Monday through Friday, driving into here.
I get you.
We'll be sharing much more of your wonderful stories of how you guys met all week here on Sunrise. Have a great Monday, guys. Bye.